Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figure It Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite video game console of all time, the Sega Dreamcast, and specifically a brand new game that just came out for it called Andro Dunos 2. Now, before we do that though, a few different things. One, if you guys could do me a favor, please like this video, comment down below, and subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as go into the social media stuff. In the description of this video, you'll see my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Discord, my Patreon, my Spreadshirt, all that kind of stuff. If you guys could just check some of that out, follow me on those places, I would really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Now, before we get into it, I do also want to say that I am sorry because normally, like the previous video I did was actually on Andro Dunos 1, another brand new independent Dreamcast game. And normally I like to kind of break it up, have a little bit more different content, but there's a special video coming up very soon that is also Dreamcast related. And this video had to be finished in time for that. It'll make more sense. Pay attention in June. In June 2023, a special video is coming on the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah. But, so, yeah, let's just bear with me. I apologize for kind of, it's not repeat content. It's a new game. It's a new video. But I would have normally split it up with something else. But it'll make more sense later. Anyway, so thank you for that. Now, today we're going to be talking about a brand new Dreamcast game called Andro Dunos 2, as I mentioned before. And a huge shout out here, and full disclosure, of course, this was sent to me for free for the purposes of review by Pixel Heart. Now, Pixel Heart is the company that actually published this. There's a link in the description to them. You can check this out or any of the other stuff that they sell. They do a lot of PS4. I think they're doing some PS5 now. They do Neo Geo CD, which is pretty cool. Brand new Dreamcast stuff. They got a whole bunch of great stuff on their Nintendo Switch. A lot of stuff. They're a publisher that, you know, not only publishes to modern consoles, but also to a lot of legacy hardware, obviously, hence the Dreamcast. Now, if you are totally unfamiliar with all of this, and you're like, there's a lot happening here. What's going on? Why does the Dreamcast matter all of a sudden? The Sega Dreamcast is my favorite video game console of all time. I know, spoilers, crazy, right? But it is. I love it. And what's amazing about it is that even now in 2023, it still gets brand new games, which is awesome. And we'll talk more about that in maybe the special video coming up. But the point is that it does. And Sega has nothing to do with these games. These are games that are always produced by independent developers and publishers. Now, every single one of them has like a different story or reason behind why they get into it. But in this case, this is a Josh Prod release. Now, Josh Prod is a company run by a guy named Phil, a dude in France, very nice guy. And his model is very unique because he basically goes around and buys up rights to games and then has them ported over to the Sega Dreamcast. This one is cool because this game is not that situation exactly. So Andro Dunos 1, when I covered this, basically the story with it, long and the short of it, is a company called Visco made this for the Neo Geo MVS and AES back in 1992. He eventually bought the rights and they brought it over to the Dreamcast. Cool. Andro Dunos 2, because he had the rights to it, they decided to make a brand new game from the ground up, built from scratch. And originally that game was released back in 2021. However, he knew in his heart that he wanted to make a Dreamcast version. So I actually talked to him about this, and I'm just quoting him. He straight up said that the best console version that exists is the Dreamcast version. That is the version they meant it to exist on. That's what they wanted it to be. It's just that for economic reasons, you have to put it on things like the Switch and Xbox and all that stuff just to make sure it makes its money. But it also got some fanfare because there's actually a 3DS version of this, and I believe it's actually the last 3DS game ever released, I think. So that's pretty cool. But the idea that this like modern game that comes out also gets a Dreamcast version is awesome. But yeah, here it is in 2023. This is the latest Sega Dreamcast game, and I think that's awesome. Now, I'm going to open it up and show it to you guys, but I do want to address one point because I thought I'd been making this clear, but the previous video indicates that I did not. A lot of people were asking me like, hey, can I just play this game like on any version of the system? And the answer in short is pretty much yes. So all these independent games that are created are region free, which means like this is a Japanese Dreamcast with a custom shell on it. It does not matter. It'll read it'll read these discs because they are region free. There's no region coding of any kind. So like this case here is the North American / Japanese version. And people are asking me like, oh, would that work on a European one? Of course it would. The whole point of region free is it's region free. It's irrelevant. It boils down to cosmetics. Do you like this case or do you like the European style case? Because there's both. There's collector's editions that come with a music CD and all that. Point is, if you have a Sega Dreamcast, you can play this, with one exception, which is if you have the very late Model 2 version of the Dreamcast, a lot of those don't support the mil-CD exploit, which is what these use in order to operate. However, the odds of you having one of those is extremely low. Like, I have like 25 Dreamcasts. I look at Dreamcasts all the time. In my entire life, I've only ever seen one Revision 2 that actually didn't support the mill CD capabilities, and I own it. Thanks again to Tom Revision 2, who donated that to me. It's like winning an unlucky lottery to actually find one of those. So if you have that, in almost every case, like 99.9% of Dreamcasts out there are going to be able to run it. Make more sense? You'll be fine. But if you're really unsure, you can check the bottom of your Dreamcast. There's going to be like a label, and there's usually a number. Typically, it's a 1 with a circle around it. That means it's Revision 1. Revision 0 also supports it, though those are pretty rare. Revision 2s, most Revision 2s would support it. It's literally like the last ones in the last month of production that would not. So you'll be fine. Now, let's go ahead and open up this actual game here. So, much like Andro Dunos 1, this is a shoot-'em-up game, which is cool because, as I mentioned in the previous video, the Dreamcast used to be synonymous with shoot-'em-ups, and then they just kind of vanished. But here we are, we're back into it, and that's awesome. So, in typical Josh Prod style, like I said, this is the Japanese/American version, and look, at this time I didn't actually break the disc case, which is nice. So the manual is reversible. So when you basically buy the American or Japanese one, you get both. And that doesn't mean language options, although I think maybe both languages do exist. Again, it's purely cosmetic. So like there's the American side of the manual, and you can flip it over, and then you have the Japanese artwork, and it just boils down to whichever one you like. So the artwork is pretty good, I think. I think it's better than the artwork on the first game, actually. And inside there's a description, which we're going to read right now. Andro Dunos 2. Some 28 years have passed since Earth Defense deployed Yellow Cherry and Red Fox to stop the imminent invasion from an unknown alien race, which I'm pretty sure is the events of the first game. And also probably basically timeline accurate. 52 light years away on the edge of our galaxy, the threat has reared its ugly head again, and this time they mean business. There's just one thing to do: dust off the finest Earth defense ships ever made and send the alien scum packing. It's apparent that these relics from a wartime that was forgotten has seen better days, and only one ship, the Yellow Cherry, could be saved by using parts from Red Fox, which just makes me think of that TV show. Red Fox, which was critically acclaimed in the War of the Past. Are you up for the task of saving the Earth? Yeah, in this pure homage to the classic 90s arcade shoot-'em-ups, you will take control of one of the most technologically advanced spaceships ever made, with 4 weapons set, which can be changed depending on which situation you are in and between them, and taking out enemies from all angles. Weapons can be upgraded by collecting pickups or in the end level screen up to a maximum of 7. You also can take advantage of the missile and shield pickups, which can also be powered up to level 7. Each weapon builds up a charge when firing, which unlocks the hyper shot that delivers a devastating blast to whatever gets in its way. But be warned, it also leaves your weapon weak and your ship vulnerable until charged back up. Starting on Earth, battle your way through 7 stages, powering your weapons until you reach the edge of the galaxy and the secret base from where all enemy waves are being orchestrated from. You will need to use everything you have learned on the journey about your weapon sets to take out the final boss and restore peace to Earth once more. There's also controls. It's pretty basic layout. It really only seems to use 2 of the face buttons on the controller, and then obviously like the D-pad and all that. And then there's just some credits. And then after that, you just have the same information, but in Japanese. So that's the manual. Underneath that, you of course have the disc itself, which, again, I will stress this, these are pressed discs. They are not burned. You know, this is not a CDR, somebody wrote their name on it or whatever and just mailed you some junk. These were made in a factory. Very nice. The only reason they use CD-ROMs instead of gigabyte disc ROMs like Sega did originally is those are no longer producible. Sega shut down those machines. It's a proprietary format. CD-ROM is a tad more open source, as it were, and so it's much easier to do. Plus, the extra 300 megabyte difference between them is unnecessary, as the games are really built around the fact that they expect to have less storage. And no, as far as I know, no independent Dreamcast game has even come close to using the whole 700 megabytes anyway. Beyond that, you have the rear artwork from the inside, and then you have the back of the case, which is always in the Japanese style. It, of course, mentions Visco, as they are still, I believe, the rights holder to the IP, but it mentions, forgive me on the pronunciation, Picoane Soft, which I'm pretty sure was the developer of this particular game. They had nothing to do with the original one, because it's a modern game made by a modern team. And, of course, Josh Prod being the producer, or publisher. The game, of course, is also VGA compatible, so it's going to look nice and pretty. I can't imagine that we're ever going to be in a situation where a dev at this point in time decides not to enable the VGA modes, because why would you ever do that? That just makes the Dreamcast look so much better.
All right, and here we go. There's the Josh Prod logo and everything, Visco logo, just it's all legit. And then of course the game itself. I cut out a bunch of the load times and that kind of thing. I will admit the load times on this game seem to be kind of extreme. I'm not really sure what that is, or if it's just something wrong with my Dreamcast, or at least the one I was using. But anyway, obviously the game itself works just fine. Now the gameplay is pretty fun. I think I like this a lot more than I like the first game. This one feels a lot smoother, a lot better. It's also not nearly as challenging. I feel like I could actually make like a lot of progress in this without constantly dying. And that's not to say I didn't die a bunch of times. I'm just basically going to get through the entire first level here so you guys can check it out. The music in this game, pretty good. They actually, you know, when I talked to Phil about the game, he actually made a big deal about it. He's like, oh yeah, we recorded like whole new mixes. It was like all custom original music, this, that, and the other. And as a bonus feature, the Dreamcast disc actually operates as a music CD. So like if you take this and put it in your PC, you can like rip the music, put it to, you know, any sort of MP3 format or anything you want to do with it. Or if you are old school enough and you want to stick it into any sort of CD player, be it, you know, the Sega CD or something as recent as the Xbox Series X, they will read it as a music CD. You could technically do that with the Dreamcast as long as you try to boot it from the BIOS menu instead of the, you know, the actual startup screen. But yeah, you can just sit down and listen to the music of the game if you want, which I'm gonna I'll let you guys kind of enjoy here in a bit. But yeah, I mean, I think the game's pretty fun. I kind of overlooked the super boost move, like so. You have the standard shoot functionality, which is what I'm doing. Of course, you're picking up power-ups, your shooting gets better, etc., etc. Like, you know, like a lot of shoot 'em ups. But when you hold down, I think it's the B button, at least that's the way I had it configured, then you have like this super blast, right? And I kind of forgot that was even a feature, so I used it kind of sparingly, which you guys will see a little bit of that later. But yeah, I think it's a fun game. If you want to check it out, once again, check out the link in the description to Pixel Heart. I believe Video Games New York is also going to be selling this as well. I mean, the name is on the case, so you can support Dan if you wish. Either way, that's up to you. But yeah, I'll let you guys kind of enjoy the rest of this, and then I'll catch up with you at the end. And I am back. See, I beat the boss. I'm not that terrible at this game. I wasn't that good at the first one, I admit that. But yeah, so that's just a sample there. I thought you guys might appreciate it. So as always, I want a huge shout out to Pixel Heart for hooking me up with this. Huge shout out to Josh Prod for getting this made in the first place. And of course, a huge shout out to you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out the social media stuff in the description. And I'll see you all later.